welcome back to So today we're going to talk about the movie Ken. Ken is a sci-fi action movie. It's about an hour and 42 minutes. It's PG-13 and it came out in 2018. Scavenging for copper wire, Detroit teenager Eli Solinski stumbles upon a high-tech gun that holds special powers. When his brother Jimmy lands in trouble with a local crime boss, the two siblings take the mysterious weapon and go on the run. Eli and Jimmy now find themselves in a life and death battle against an army of thugs and two heavily armed futuristic soldiers who want their guns back. The director is Josh Baker and Jonathan Baker. It's based on if you've seen it, the short film Bagman by Josh and Jonathan. You can watch this on Tubi, Pluto TV, Amazon Prime, YouTube, Vudu, and Google Play. The cast is Zoe Kravitz as Millie, James Franco as Taylor Bullock, Miles Truitt as Elijah Solinski, Jack Renor as Jimmy Solinski, and Dennis Quaid as Hale Solinski. So as far as the characters go, all the characters played a really good role together. Chemistry was actually really good shared between the characters. You could tell that Dennis Quaid, who played Hall, the dad, didn't really care about his sons, and that the reason he was so hard on him because, like he said, the world is hard on you, so I have to be harder. And you could tell that he really cared about him, even though that wasn't his biological son. There was this love that he shared with him as his family. Son Elijah really held this innocence to him, and I think that was really important that they did that for this story. They had this little black boy who was exposed to sort of violence in a lot of ways, in the whole him having a gun and using a weapon, even though it was like this high-tech futuristic weapon. It wasn't quite similar to a gun, but it was like a giant gun. They were able to have him hold his innocence, and I feel like that was really important. He wasn't really expected to be like hard, or he wasn't like this hard, tough character, or turned into that because of the trauma that happened or his experience that happened. He still was able to just be this innocent kid who really didn't know what was going on. I mean, his brother lied to him practically the entire time, so he really didn't know what was going on. So that was another, I mean, he was already innocently a child, not knowing what was going on, but I really thought it was important that they really held his innocence. Even though there might be like hidden scars or hidden trauma, it's still important. Millie, played by Zoe Kravitz, who played the cool mom.
Not like a regular mom, I'm a cool mom.
I love that her and Elijah had like this really chill, cool friendship vibe. And Elijah kind of did have like a little crush on her or found interest in her. But once they started to hang out and everything, she became like this motherly figure to him. But it was like not too hard on him or anything like that. But it was also, it was not too hard on him because she was down. She was down to do what they were doing. She even coached the brother into what they should do. But she still cared about them. She still cared about Elijah. She still was worried when he had the gun. She was like, be careful. She still was worried about when they were going into the situation and telling the older brother, like, you understand what you're about to get him into? Like, you better be ready for this. One of the best characters had to be the villain, Bolak, played by James Franco. And despite the real background of the person, the actor, James Franco, what he does, and all that stuff, the character that he played was really good. To be honest, James Franco's villain character and the sci-fi gun were probably the best thing about this entire movie. And the two people on the motorcycle that we found out who they were in the end. His acting was just good the entire time. I was convinced that he was about that life. The whole movie, I was just like, I believe it. I believe it. He don't play, okay? He don't play around, especially after what happened to his brother. Like, it was not a game, okay? He was not playing. Now, I will say that the weapon, I feel like, didn't have enough cameos, in my personal opinion. But when it was blowing up things, it was really enchanting. I think it was the colors of the whole thing. It was like a video game, but it was like, it had like the power of a combustible artillery. So one thing that really got me was the pacing of this movie. I feel like if the pacing was a little better, this probably wouldn't have been a problem because, to be honest, I was questioning if this movie was even good until it got to the end. And I was wondering, why am I still watching this and why is it still on? There's nothing really happening. But when it got to the end, it did kind of wrap up the entire movie and tell you, like, oh, this is really what the premise and the message is. Then it makes it better. But it was so long and boring at some times, I kind of started to lose interest. I would have also liked to see more, not only from the weapon, but from the two characters who revealed themselves in the end. I was just like, really? You're gonna tell us all this at the end? Now I want a sequel. I want a sequel now. We're owed a sequel, I feel like, after seeing that. So it was a very heartfelt moment when Michael B. Jordan's character told him who they truly are, and like they had like this moment. He was like, you want to help your brother, and now I'm gonna help my brother. And I was like, oh my god. That is so cute. I was just like, beautiful. I had a lot of potential for this film because a lot of things could have been revealed even though they weren't, but it wasn't a terrible film. I also learned from watching interviews that the person who worked on Stranger Things worked on this, and you can tell, once you find that out, you also can tell, especially the strip club scene, the way the light colors, it really reminds you of like Stranger Things, especially the I believe the scene in Stranger Things where they're in the mall. It kind of reminds me of that scene, like color wise, or the even just the poster board that they use for Stranger Things, I believe, in season 2. The writers also talked about how this movie is really influenced by a lot of 80s films, and you really can see that, which I think is really cool. The behind the scenes mostly talks about it being about family. I feel like family is pretty highlighted as far as the theme go. It's a very the message is pretty clear. It's pretty blatant. And I feel like the message definitely came across in this film. You also get that like indie vibe. It's like indie sci-fi 80s. This film has like its own thing. Like it's not like something that was just put out to put out and make money, or just like a sci-fi, another one of those sci-fi films. Like it kind of has like its own thing going on with a mixture of other things. But I just still wish it wasn't dragged out so much. Overall, I recommend this film. I think it was a good film, but not until the very end. But I feel like once you get the message, the overall message of this film, it gives it way more value, and you're like, oh, now it's better. But if you don't understand the message, or you don't watch, or you don't understand what's going on, like what's trying to be pushed and portrayed in this movie, then I feel like you won't connect to it as much, and you'll just be like, this movie's just like long and what's going on? And you'll get to the end and be like, okay, that was like the best part of the movie. But once you understand the movie, and I think maybe watch like a few interviews and stuff, or do some research in the film, it's more value, it makes more sense, and it makes the movie better. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and comment below, let me know, what would you do if you had that gun that Elijah had in this movie? What would you do with it? What would be the first thing that you would do with it? Also, be sure to hit that notification bell to get notified for future videos, and be sure to get you a copy of my book, Rain, a self-published psychological thriller sci-fi book about a group of young adults in a psych ward, and it gets this counselor who comes to help them, but then he comes to help them, but he also has a secret motive that he's looking for his brother, he's looking for info, and he learns that this place that he's trying to come help these kids are actually being experimented on, and he learns that they're probably actually not crazy, and he tries to help them, but then he traps himself in this place with them and ends up being experimented on, and later learns that these kids have some sort of abilities with their mental illnesses. So if you're interested, be sure to hit the link description box below, and be sure to hit me up at this email and send me your email list so I can add you to my email list. I'll see you next time.